I'm completely blessed. First, I'm a believer. I have a great Christian wife, my wife Catherine. I've been married to since high school. We were high school sweethearts. We got married once we both graduated from college, and we have a beautiful life together. She is my balance. She really drives me to be the best version of me, and that's something that says a lot about her character and her drive. She's an awesome mother. We have 2 children. Hollis is 3, Arden is 1, and we're expecting a 3rd in September. So our family's growing a little bit bigger even as we speak. But I'm just having my family to round out my personality. I think it is what's given me an edge in this business to help the kids. I bring my student athletes into my family. My daughters, look up to these guys, and I put that pressure back on my players. They got to be the kind of men that I want around my family and my daughters, that I want them to be around. And so I think that brings a level of accountability that you can't fake anywhere else. And so once again, being a part of the Eastern New Mexico family, my wife and my children, they're going to be our biggest fans, and they're going to give a level of support to these athletes that they'll need away from home. My wife will be a mom away from home for a lot of these guys, and I think that's a big part of what's going to make us successful here at Eastern. I've been in this business my whole life. My dad, on his way to 40 years of coaching. My grandfather coached for over 40 years, head coaches in high school and at the college level. And so I've heard that statement throughout my entire life. He doesn't have head coaching experience. And so what I did to combat that is I went to the best places I could be at. I started my coaching career with Rick Barnes at Texas. I was around some of the best players that have ever played the game. Got to be around Kevin Durant, who is arguably the best player in the game today. And so I got to be around people that would teach me the finer points of what it really means to be a coach at the highest levels. Coach Barnes gave me complete access to that program, and I was very blessed to be able to do everything from wiping the weight room floor down as a youngster, all the way up to advising Coach Barnes in his ear in a timeout on what I thought we should run or what we should execute in a big moment in a big game. On down to recruiting the best athletes in the country. And then you come here, I got to be with Grant McCaslin, and his staff when we first came here in Western State and started to build this program up from where it was, which is a great place, but I think now is at a far higher plateau. And then Nelson Haggerty takes over after that. And so you're talking about, and those 3 men right there, you're talking about 3 head coaches that are as respected in the country as anyone else. And so, but the blessing of all 3 of those men is that they've let me be a head coach for most of the time. There are obviously things that they have to do as the head coach and the leader of our program here at Midwestern and there at Texas, but these guys have given me so much freedom to grow and have mentored me so well at what it takes to really be a leader in that role, that I really feel like I'm there. I really feel like I'm not only ready for it, but I feel like that me jumping off from here, I'm going to be able to put my stamp on my program from a standpoint of leadership. And I feel like that I have a lot of given abilities and a lot of earned abilities that I feel like can help me do that. Recruiting is the key thing when it comes to Division II basketball. Not only do you have to be skilled at who you see and what your eye judges as good enough to win in the Lone Star Conference, but you also have to know where to look. I've worked painstakingly hard across the country to develop contacts at all levels, the prep school level, the high school level, and especially the junior college level, so that the coaches around the country, when they get a phone call from me, when they see me walk into their gym, that there's a respect between us, that they trust me. So if I want to take one of their athletes onto my program, and bring them into my family here at Eastern New Mexico, they not only know that I'm going to take care of them in the right ways, but they also know that I'm going to grow them in all ways possible as a man, as an athlete, and give them opportunities, hopefully even postgraduate, to go on and play basketball and fulfill their dreams professionally, which a lot of these young men have. So, recruiting is something that's going to have to happen quickly and right away. We're going to have to hit the ground running at Eastern, and we're going to have to make sure that we go get 3 or 4 players that are complete difference makers in the Lone Star Conference, and that's going to be hard. We're going to have to develop inward and figure out what are the most positive things that we can market about Eastern New Mexico, so that these kids across the country see Eastern as a place for them, as a destination that's going to provide them with a platform to jump off and be successful for the rest of their career. And that's something we can do. I've done that here at Midwestern, we did that at University of Texas, and it's something that we'll do again at Eastern, and we'll make sure that we find our ways to separate ourselves from everyone in the country. But it does start with recruiting. And those kids that I find across the country, they have to believe in me. When they buy into Eastern, they're going to be buying into me and my family and my program. So I have to make sure that first and foremost that the relationships I'm building with these kids across the country are formidable ones that are true and genuine, so that they believe in me and they believe in what we're going to do here at Eastern. My program is gonna reflect me. I think all good programs reflect the head coach's temperament and personality. My entire life, people have told me, and I've worked very hard at mastering my own motor and my own energy. People say that I have above average energy, that my motor runs a little bit higher than most people, and I've tried to encapsulate that and take that and really make that the best thing about me. And so, a lot of people have to wake up in the morning and motivate themselves to be doing what they're doing, and I'm blessed that I don't have to do that. When I come to work at Eastern New Mexico every day, that energy is going to be infectious. It's going to go spill over to my staff, to my players, to the administration, everywhere. And that's something that I firmly believe in. I feel like it's the only way to truly grow. So the culture of my program is going to be based on that, on a willingness to work harder than everyone else. But the word that we really embodied throughout all of my stops in my career is toughness. We have built teams, both offensively and defensively, that are the toughest in whatever league we're playing in. And we argue the country. And I think that the tougher team normally wins. The most skilled team doesn't always win. The most talented team doesn't always win. But the toughest team is always in the game. The toughest team always has a chance to win a basketball game. I'm very blessed that as long as I've been in the Lone Star now, I have scouted every single coach and coaching style that has come through in the past 6 years. I really feel like I have the best handle on scouting personnel and the types of defenses and offenses that every Lone Star coach has. So I really feel like, even coming from Midwestern, that I'll have a great expertise on being able to stop what the best programs in the Lone Star Conference do well. And if you can stop what people do well, you're always going to have a fighting chance to win. And again, that goes back to recruiting. If you have 2 or 3 marquee players, 2 or 3 players that can change the game, and you already know how to stop an opponent, you're really in every game you play. And again, that's all we want at Eastern. We want to be in every game that we play so we can have a chance to shock the world and completely turn a record around to where we're at the top of the Lone Star Conference, which would be the top of the country, because the Lone Star is the best league in the country, bar none. The word family is tossed around in basketball and recruiting far too much. It's almost abused, because a lot of times the people that want to talk about family aren't themselves, as the leader of the program, really involved in the family. They step back and they let their assistants and the support personnel be those people, and that's not how I'm built, and that's not how we'll work at Eastern. I'm a believer that family, true family, has to start with me, and a willingness for me to not only put my heart out there on the line, my family out there on the line to these young men that are going to come into Eastern, but vice versa, for me to get that out of them, for me to be real enough and honest enough and vulnerable enough with these guys that they are willing to trust me at that level. And if you do that, if you have that kind of trust between coach and player, you've moved beyond basketball into something far greater, into these metaphors that you hope you get to as a coach across your career. And I believe that that's what you build a program on. If you can build a program from that baseline, especially here at Eastern New Mexico, where we know the support is already there, the fanship is already there, then again, the people can feel that. They can feel you interacting with your athletes in that way. They can feel the athletes interacting with you in that way. And people get behind that. That's the thing that you can believe in your heart that makes a place special. And so I truly believe that building this program from where we are now, moving out to the future, taking it to a place of greatness where we belong and where we deserve to be, that Eastern has to be a family. And when we win together, and everyone feels a little piece of that, so they're invested in it. And if we lose, then that's on me. My shoulders are big enough to take that, and we can move on down the road, but we all have to be invested in that loss as well. Everyone's got to take ownership and move forward honestly, just like a family would, so that we can grow as one unit, but we can get to our highest potential because we all truly are invested in each other at the highest levels. How would we interact with people on campus? How would we get the Eastern New Mexico family to be on our side? I think that from what I've heard and from what I've witnessed there in Eastern New Mexico in my travels there as a coach, an opposing coach, you have a great support network. And here at Eastern, I think we can really build that in a way that could be special. We fight here at Midwestern all the time to get people to come to our games. And here at Eastern New Mexico, you have a loyal fan support that we can really build upon. I think first and foremost, my student athletes, myself, my family, I'm going to do my best to support the other programs on campus to gain their loyalty. That's a fraternity, a brotherhood, a sisterhood between the sporting teams, the athletic department, where if I can gain their loyalty, if they can know that I'm as committed to their success as I want them to be to mine and our programs, man, that's 300 student athletes at a basketball game. And so I really feel like that can be a great jumping off point for our fan base, for what's going to support our backbone and make sure that every time an opposing player or opposing coach comes into our gym, that it's the hardest place to play in the country. The Doghouse is a special place. It's an amazing arena. It's an amazing facility. But we have to maximize its potential as a loud venue, a tough venue to play at, a hard trip to travel to. And we got to combine all those things with a team that we put on the floor that's good enough to win, so that the whole community will come and have our back, be our sixth man, be the voice of our basketball team from behind our shoulders in the stands. You know, my academic expectations are something that's important to talk about from the very beginning. The character traits that comes from a student athlete who is truly focused on being his best every day, the best version of himself in everything he does, from the way he wakes up and plans his day, to the way that he goes to class, from the way that he represents us in the classroom, on campus and elsewhere, but just his general approach to his academic success. That's going to ripple over into every element of our program. There's no element of basketball that cannot be helped and strengthened by a person who has an academic focus that is strong and true. So, you know, that's first and foremost. We're going to make sure our kids graduate. We're going to make sure that I go find kids across the country that are academically strong enough to be at Eastern New Mexico and survive. But I'm going to support them in ways that is as intimate as humanly possible. I'm going to know what every kid's academic schedule is. I'm going to know their teachers. I'm going to know what they're struggling with. I'm going to know all those things. We do the same thing at every program I've been along the way, and it's led to a tremendous amount of success. You know, gentlemen that I've looked at their mothers and fathers, and they've been the first people in their family to get degrees, have happened in our program because we're willing to ask hard questions, to seek out support where they need it, and to make sure that there's no stone unturned as far as their academic prowess. And at the end of the day, those characteristics, if I'm stressing those things, if I'm really truly building into those areas, it's going to help us everywhere else, and it's going to make Eastern New Mexico as a family stronger. So, without a doubt, academic support is something that is the heart blood of my program, and I feel like that if I can achieve what I want to as far as my goals in this area, that it's going to help the entire university, not just our basketball program.